what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we got some unfortunate injury news, specifically around T.J. Hockenson, as he was just ruled out for the year with a torn ACL and MCL. But we're beginning the latest around Jordan Addison and DJ Wonnum as well, and then also just breaking down the updated NFC playoff pictures. The Vikings still have a 28% chance to make the playoffs. We'll be diving into kind of what needs to go right and, how the Vikings can eventually be playing in Wild Card Weekend, hopefully this upcoming year. But let's dive into the injury news here first. Obviously, the three major injuries that were suffered in the Detroit Lions game was around Jordan Addison. He is dealing with that ankle injury. It's still up in there to see if he will be ready to go. But then also T.J. Hockenson. He did suffer that knee injury in that crackdown hit where the Lions secondary defender just pretty much led with his crown and just blasted his knee in. He's going to be missing the rest of the year, and he actually might miss the beginning of next season as well. And then DJ Wonnum, he was ruled out for the rest of the season. Let's just dive into all three of those specifically because it's just brutal news for the Vikings. And honestly, injuries have killed them this whole year. But T.J. Hockenson, he is out for the year with the torn ACL and MCL. And obviously, we're going to miss him for the last two games and the playoff run. But honestly, now I'm concerned that we're probably going to miss him for at least a month, next season, where he's not going to be in training camp. So, T.J. Hockenson, feel bad for him. Obviously, he did start he was shaky at the beginning of the year with obviously drops being an issue, but I think he's really came onto the scene well, and we've really seen his impact and kind of him being that safety blanket for, whatever quarterback it was for the Minnesota Vikings, whether it was, Dobbs, Jaren Hall, or obviously Nick Mullins. But, he is going to be out for the year, so T.J. Hockenson kind of stinks. Show some love to him down in the comment section. Type those 87s, but just want to get the news out there at the top of today's show. But another Vikings player now that is out for the year is DJ Wonnum. This came from Rappaport yesterday. Said in the midst of a career year with 62 tackles, 8 sacks, he suffered a partially torn quad, source said, an indication he's played his last down this season. Kevin O'Connell said, you can see what DJ means to our team. And I agree. I mean, he was that running mate next to Danielle Hunter this whole season, and it's just very, very unfortunate that, he's not going to be there. Actually, heading into the game against the Lions, Danielle Hunter and DJ Wonnum, they were leading the league in combination of sacks for an edge duo. So losing him with 8 sacks, he had another one against the Lions. Just stinks, man. Just stinks. I mean, injuries have just killed this team. But this is what Kevin O'Connell had to say around all the latest Vikings injuries. He says, I do believe so. Talking about if guys like Addison and all of them will play. He said, I can't confirm any of those, but with 2 weeks left to go in the regular season, we got some really tough guys. We've got some guys that are trying to battle their way back in there, but I do believe so. So I guess, Kevin O'Connell expects those guys to be out there. And I understand there's a lot of noise around the Vikings and just Kevin O'Connell and, what should the Vikings do at the quarterback position and all that. I just want to get this out there. If I had to go a little pie chart of blame of what's went wrong for the Vikings this season, I know a lot of people will blame the head coach or will blame whoever they want to, but let's just call it how it is. Injuries have killed the Vikings this season. When you lose your starting quarterback, Kirk Cousins, that's a huge blow. You lose the best wide receiver in the National Football League in Justin Jefferson. That's a huge blow. You lose one of the best left tackles in the league in Christian Darrisaw for a game. That's a big blow. Even guys like Marcus Davenport who haven't played all year. You losing Jordan Hicks for 4 games. The biggest reason the Vikings are struggling this year is because of injuries. And it's just really disappointing because I still think back to that play. Kirk Cousins takes a snap. He hits Jordan Addison up the seam over the top of Jair Alexander, and the Vikings go up 24-3, coming off a big-time win versus the 49ers. And I thought the Vikings had a chance to win the Super Bowl at that moment, but obviously the season has gone completely the other direction, which kind of gets me to this point. Jaren Hall needs to start. I really don't see a reason why Nick Mullins should play the rest of this season, mainly because of this reason. You need to find out what you have. And I'm not saying Jaren Hall could be that next 5th rounder like Dak Prescott, Brady, or whoever of these guys that's going to work out. But you need to figure it out because you just know what Nick Mullins is. Nick Mullins is a game manager that's extremely it was actually funny. I was talking to Harrison Graham before we got in here. He said Nick Mullins is that quarterback where he's going to keep both teams in the game. He's going to keep the other team in the game, but he's also going to keep yourself in the game because he just throws the ball. He takes a lot of aggressive throws, and but he's also probably the worst turnover-prone quarterback in the National Football League. I mean, he, against the Lions, I swear, he should have had 8 turnovers if the ball bounced the Lions' direction. But I see no reason to start Nick Mullins. I think it should be Jaren Hall. Find out what you have in the 5th-round rookie, and you never know. Maybe he wins the last 2 games. You catch a lightning in a bottle. You catch some magic, and you can maybe go win a wild card game on the road because his team still has talent. You still got Justin Jefferson, still got Daniil Hunter, you still got Darrisaw playing right now, but injuries, and more injuries have just killed this football team. But let me know who should start at quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings for the rest of the year. Honestly, I think this is a no-brainer. I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's video, and I fully expect to see a lot of 16s down in the comment section. But let me know who should start for the Vikes, type 16 for Jaren Hall or type 12 for Nick Mullins. Coming up next, we're going to be diving into the updated playoff picture around the Minnesota Vikings. What needs to go right for this group if they do want to be playing during Wild Card Weekend? But first, I got to give a huge shout-out to PrizePicks, today's sponsor of today's edition of Vikings Now. If you guys go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use promo code CLNS, you're going to get a first deposit match up to $100. What is PrizePicks? It's daily fantasy, and it's made easy. How do you play? You choose 2 or more players, then you're going to choose more or less on some projected stat types. Then you're going to create a lineup, and you guys can start seeing the cash roll in today. I love using PrizePicks. It makes the boring games even a little more entertaining. So if you guys want to get hooked up with the fun, I'll put that link for you guys in the comment section and description of today's show. PrizePicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS. Let's dive into the NFC playoff picture here. So this is how it's shaking out. Obviously, the Niners get to 11-4 following the loss to the Ravens last night on Monday Night Football. You got 4 teams fighting for that number 1 seed if you want to include Dallas in there. But right now, the 2 wildcard teams the Vikings are competing against are the Rams and the Seahawks. So anytime you guys see the Rams and Seahawks playing over the next 2 weeks, you root for the team they're playing against. Pretty simple as that, because they are the 2 teams that the Vikings need to lose at least 1 game. But right now, where the current kind of chances play out, the Vikings have a 28% chance to make the playoffs as it sits right now. But let's just say, keep it in a vacuum. Vikings play the Packers this Sunday night. You beat them, you go to a 45% chance, which is not bad. You're going to need some help, whether it's the Rams losing to the Niners, maybe the Cardinals or the Steelers beat the Seahawks. You just got to handle your own, though. But let's just say the Vikings lose to the Packers. Let's say the Vikings end up dropping this game Sunday Night Football, New Year's Eve. You are not going to make the playoffs. You're going to drop to a 4% chance. But you may be saying, whoa, Patrick, what if they beat the Packers, then they go to Detroit and lose to the Lions, who could be competing for that number 1 seed still? You're going to have a 28% chance. In that scenario, you need the Seahawks and the Rams, I believe, to lose 2 times over the next couple of weeks. So, again, extremely unlikely. I think the Vikings' best chance is to obviously win out. Take the other scenario here. Let's just say the Vikings beat the Lions and lose to the Packers. It goes to a 14% chance. But let's just say if Vikings handle their own, they win out, you get to a 96% chance. So even after all the drama of the season, if you beat the Packers at home and you go shock the world and beat Detroit on the road, you have a 96% chance to make the playoffs. I can't believe I'm saying it because it really did feel like the season ended with that loss to obviously the Lions. But hey, Vikings still have a pretty solid chance. So pretty much Vikings NFC kind of playoff chances right now. Anytime you see the Seahawks play, root against the team or root for the team they're playing. Same thing with the Rams. Root against the Rams. The Rams still have a game versus the Niners, which is obviously huge for the Vikes. And I believe the Seahawks have the Steelers at home this weekend. So go Pittsburgh. Maybe Mason Rudolph can catch some magic in the bottle again. But let me know. Will the Vikings make the playoffs this season? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no. Obviously, with these recent, injuries, especially around T.J. Hockenson, I'm probably going to be typing my nose. I do think the Vikings, it was kind of that last hurrah against Detroit. Like, if Nick Mullins puts that ball in the back right pylon and Jefferson goes and makes a play, the Vikings are sitting pretty, and they're probably going to make the playoffs, and we're having a whole different conversation. But with losing Kirk, losing T.J. Hockenson, losing Jefferson for most of this year, man, it's just, it's been the injury bug. And I do want to make that point very crystal clear here. It's like, I understand a lot of Vikings fans are upset with Kevin O'Connell and upset with just how this season has gone. But sometimes luck's a big thing. I do think the Vikings have been the unluckiest team in the league this year. Combination of injuries and turnovers. It's just bad. It's just bad. It's just really, really bad. But make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. We're going to be going live for the Vikings-Packers game on New Year's Eve. It's going to be a ton of fun, so make sure you guys do tune in. Thank you guys so much for watching today's show. See y'all next time. Skol Vikes.